I think Mr. Williams won the applaud challenge there. Thank you very much. Thank you for the band. You guys sound awesome. The choir, you guys singing over there, that's fantastic. You guys, I'm very proud. So I got notes here to say talk slow and breathe. So if I get ahead of myself, that's not my fault. All right, a lot of aviation guys in here. I hear UH-1 Huey. That's a legacy aircraft. It's awesome. Worked with some of those with Cobras also in Afghanistan. Assuming you also flew Hueys and things like that, Cobras, it was legacy aircraft. Anyways, we're going to talk about that a little bit today. So the Black Hawk is the aircraft that I flew on. It's a utility helicopter designed for troop cargo transport. It is used by all branches of the military. My job is a mechanic, a crew chief, a door gunner on these awesome machines. So let's talk about what they can do and how we use it. One mission set for a Black Hawk crew is called a prize mission. It involves a low, fast, aggressive approach to a target, go to a hover, and then send some barrel-chested American warfighters down the road to the eggs. The idea is to get in fast, stop on a dime, infill troops before the enemy has a chance to react. It's called the element of surprise. The door gunners are hanging out the window, mainly looking for threats, obstacles. We watch and clear the landing zone for our troops and suppressive fire and provide suppressive fire if needed. Once we get to a hover, I'm looking for muzzle flashes, smoke trails, people running around us, and monitoring the density of the troops out of the helicopter. Once we call clear, we cut the rope away and we either go to a holding area or provide overwatch support. All right, now stepping into what we used to do in my unit. To quickly talk about my company's combat capabilities, we were the guys who brought troops to the fight. We had good equipment and even better crews that worked well together. We could even get a general where he or she needed to go, then quickly modify everything to go pick up some troops and send them to the fight. It's a combat multiplier on the battlefield. They can do stuff from picking up wounded soldiers, providing protection from the air with its machine guns, to becoming a platform for snipers. The possibilities are endless. So in our particular operating in location was in Afghanistan in 2005. Our unit, which was an air assault group, had just finished a tour in Iraq the year before. The platoon consisted of about 5 Black Hawk helicopters, about 25 to 30 people, depending on the week. Our living conditions weren't terrible, but were mostly comprised of tents, a small store, a decent gym, and a good chow hall. We actually had warm running water in our showers, which was a luxury at times in remote places in Afghanistan. It was definitely cush compared to some outposts. If you look at the map of Afghanistan, it was surrounded by Pakistan on 3 sides. Those three sides were all protected by what they call BCPs, British Border Control Points. Our job was to help the guys on the ground to protect the area and work the border to prevent the bad guys from coming over. During our first night in our FOB, which is our forward operating base that we were located there, John and Norman, myself, my buddies, were standing around in a circle in the playing room, probably talking about something dumb when the rocket hit. Most of us hit the floor. The rocket had been fired from somewhere in Pakistan and landed about 200 feet away from our tent. Thank God for HESCOs. The loud rocket motor noise, then the explosive impact. The training took over, and in Army fashion, we all looked like a clown show pouring out a small car on the way to the bunker. Our radios then quickly announced, QRF, wheels up. That was us. It was all business now. We took off out of the bunker, running to the birds that were parked, full of gas and ammo, and ready to go. It was a beautiful sight running up the UH-60s. In about 5 minutes, the engines cranked up. 2 GE turboshaft engines rated at about 1,800 horsepower apiece, provided power to the transmission, and the rotor blades started turning. By this time, we realized that we had already had our helmets on that had the Chiefs mounted on them. We had our weapons loaded, our armor on, our ammo can stashed, and our go-back stashed as well. We did a quick cabin check as the last look before we took off. The exhaust smell from the engines gave me a comfort feeling and was a signal to get my head into the game. We hopped in, took off, unstowed our guns, and got comfortable. At this point, we had done this so many times that it was second nature. Looking back, the danger level was high, but we ignored it. It's amazing to think this at 42 years old. I had already lost a few friends in this career field by 2005, but this was my purpose and this was my team. As a tactic, rocket launches towards our FOB were meant to keep our air assets on the ground while they send in the ground force to attack a target. It was a smart tactic, but it didn't work, such as war. We took off to pick up some troops to get briefed en route to one of the BCPs that was getting attacked. It was night and we could see the tracers in the distance to our goggles. In these situations, information is limited. You have to be able to adjust quickly and work together as a team. Training, experience, along with good leadership is a key to survival here. As we flew in our approach, the one thing I clearly remember seeing through my NVGs was a huge infrared light beam coming down from an AC-130 downship. Those things are amazing. If you guys are experienced that, I'm sure some of you here, it's a great aircraft. Then the smoke trails from the rockets from the Cobra gunships flying over us as we went in for infill. This was crazy, I was thinking. It was our first action for our Afghanistan trip. While doing these types of missions are typically outside of the norm, it's what our young men and women do every day. Many different types of people with different backgrounds get together and do heroic things for each other in the U.S. military. Everywhere from direct action jobs to support jobs, everyone has a role. It's a big machine that works well as long as everyone does their part. During that year, many of us grew up from the following events. We did a humanitarian response mission in Kashmir, Pakistan after an earthquake had perished 86,000 people, and with the same number of wounded or injured because of the earthquakes. We had been in multiple skirmishes not traditionally experienced by aviation crews at the time. One of our pilots, Chris Colombo, received a Distinguished Service Cross for his actions on one of our missions on April 11, 2005 that protected wounded Special Forces soldiers on the ground. We had worked with the Operation Red Wing SEALs portrayed in Lone Survivor. I'll never forget the evader calls from the 810s in the valley during that time as they were looking for the SEAL team. We've had our crew member shot, one of my friends fall off a helicopter and expect to ground with his face at a high rate of speed. We've had the most honorable thing that I've ever been a part of, and as we carry fallen angels so they can be returned to the families. This is just a story from the group that I was with. Men and women did more on a daily basis, and that's why I'm thankful to say that I was a very small part of it. Now, let's look back at how this path led me to this point in my life. I'd like to go back to the 90s for that. Yeah. All right, as a kid, I waddled through high school. I was a C grade average kid. I was forgettable at best. To be honest, I didn't mind being forgettable. I didn't care about being popular, but I did care about people. I didn't care that I wasn't part of anything significant, but I cared about where I was going. One day early in February 1999, I was working in a local grocery store and realized that I didn't have any prospects for my future. Well, anything that didn't seem exciting at least. So the military seemed to be a viable option for me at the time. My parents were hardworking people that had kids when they were very young. They did their best and I loved them for it. Some of my grandparents and great-grandparents had a history with the military and I love hearing some of their stories. Matter of fact, that's the point to you guys. If you have a chance to sit down with some of these ladies and gentlemen, and you're probably right voice. Mind you, my grandparents were crazy. One of them ended up doing Elvis impersonations at flea markets later in life. It was kind of fun growing up a little. I had my fair share of negative and positive influences in my life. Luckily, I had people who cared about me and taught me the difference between the two, which leads me to the next topic. Let's talk about you guys. I believe our mission in life is to be selfless and of service. No matter what you do, give it 100%, good things will happen. You will have bad things that will happen to you. You know what? As a guy named Jocko says, good. Failure gives you an opportunity to get better. You're still breathing? That means you're still alive. So dust off, get up, and get back to work. Knowing your role. As in the stories I just told, my job was to provide fellow soldiers with a working helicopter that will pull them out or put them in a bad situation. We needed to provide a way in and out of the battlefield for the troops. I needed to be selfless and not think of myself, but for the mission. I challenge you to be selfless in your role, which means think of yourself last. In this life, there are trials and tribulations, tough times and challenges to overcome. But from all these difficult times come opportunities. Opportunities to overcome your obstacles, opportunities to rise above and test your resolve, opportunities to learn how to deal with pain and turmoil and come out victorious. Opportunities to learn how to keep your cool, decide, and then act on the solutions presented to you. Work on yourself so you don't freak out, so you don't give up when tough times happen. This is very important. You'll go through tough times in life. It's bound to happen. Sorry, that's part of it. Mom and dad won't always be there to help. The teachers and coaches won't always be there to guide and mentor. To this, I say build a warrior mentality. Always look to your faults and weaknesses so you can improve on them. Always look to your faults and weaknesses so you can improve on them. Become an asset, not a liability. Own your failures and misfortunes as your own and see them as opportunities to get better. Get good at the fundamentals in life and strive for perfection, but embrace failure. Again, and just often get back in the fight. Be a warrior and a gardener, not a gardener and a war. The Chinese proverb is pretty solid there. So the choice is yours. So in conclusion, I'd like to thank all the veterans here today for your service. Thank you to the families that have put up with us. You guys know what I'm talking about. Thank you to my wife, Julia. She's probably been having many anxiety attacks up here waiting for me to say something stupid. Thanks. And that's why I'm reading from the script, honestly. So I love you, babe. Josh and Emily, your rooms are so messed up, so you gotta fix that when you get home. I love you guys too. So, speaking of thanking veterans, I challenge you to this. Thank us by doing something selfless in your community. Tell your parents and teachers you appreciate them. Grab that kid that's off to the side of the group and bring them into the fold. You'll start noticing a positive change in your life by doing positive things. I promise you. Anyways, thanks to all of you. Stay in the fight. Love you all.